Good evening. It's now 7 o'clock, and I want to call to order the meeting of the Board of Selectmen. The first item on our agenda is to review and approve our minutes.
Sure, I'll move that we approve the meeting minutes from July 24th, 2017 as written.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're going to confirm future meeting dates. The board will meet again on August 28th and September 6th. A second September date is being currently discussed because on September 18th, we're going to be meeting to discuss with the Master Plan Implementation Committee, the Milton Landing and the Wharf area. So we look forward to that joint discussion with the Implementation Committee. So I think that why don't we get back to Emily altogether and find out a date that is convenient for all. Okay, Citizens Speak. Do we have anybody here who wishes to come to Citizens Speak? Anybody in attendance for Citizens Speak? Okay. Okay. We now have a public hearing, the fifth item of our agenda, and it's with Eversource, and it's related to 39 Pine Grove Street. Pursuant to Chapter 166 of the Mass General Laws, the Board now convenes a public hearing for a grant of location from NStar Electric Company, DBA Eversource, on behalf of the town for the installation of a conduit from utility pole 110-2 to provide underground service to house number 39 Pine Grove Street. The hearing was published in the local newspaper, and all the abutters have been notified. NStar has our representative here, Renee Banks-Clark, to address any questions from the board and our residents. Good evening, Renee.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here. Again, I'm here on behalf of Eversource and Star Electric to request permission to install the conduit in Pine Grove Street to provide electric service to 39 Pine Grove Street.
Okay. Do we have any residents here that... And you're okay? Would you like...
I don't know what it involves.
Do you want to explain a little bit what it involves?
You want to talk a little bit about it?
Sure, I'm sorry. It involves installing, we're going to dig from the pole that's almost directly in front of the house, across the driveway and into his property. It's about 37 feet, and we're going to install the conduit there. It should be a one-day job.
Okay. And that's great. So I'd like to invite any residents for comments if they wish, if they oppose or approve. Okay, if we don't have anyone, I'm going to now.
I think I'm the only one that's involved in it.
You could come up and discuss it unless you...
I don't need to discuss it, I just wanted to know how long it's going to take and just what is involved.
Great. How long do you anticipate?
Just one day.
Just one day, okay. Okay.
It's a one-day change? Okay.
So I don't have to move out.
No, no,
Great.
no.
You won't have to move out.
You don't have to leave the house or anything, no.
Yep.
I was just curious because we've had other, the street being torn up for other things and I never had to come to a public forum.
I think it's because of this project involves a public utility, so that's your statutory right to be here.
That's right. And we appreciate you coming. Okay, so at this point, then I'll close the public hearing. And we have a motion before us.
I'll make the motion to approve a request from NStar Electric Company, doing business as Eversource, for the installation of a conduit from utility pole 110/2 to provide underground service to house number 39 Pine Grove Street.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Could we just ask the town administrator if he approves of this, because this is one of the items that we kind of transferred to the town administrator. I know he wanted to put it on this agenda,
Yeah.
but I just make sure the town administrator is comfortable with this.
Most definitely, yeah. In my previous capacity in the city of Boston, I sat as the Public Improvement Commission chair, and oftentimes Eversource and the other utilities would come in. It's a public process where the constituents and residents, abutters, are notified of the work that's going to be performed and approve or disapprove, or work with the utility to come up with a resolution. This sounds very fair. The work is going to take one day. And because it's a granted location from a public utility, the town is involved. And we appreciate your attendance tonight, ma'am, and as well. Sheila Gillis was one of the most frequent flyers in the city of Boston, Eversource rep that works with Renee. So very familiar faces. It's a granted location process that I approve of.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Renee.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Next agenda item, I'm going to call up Rabbi Alfred Benjamin
Can Rachel come also?
and Rachel Freed as well. Yep, you guys can come up for a conference. And we're bringing this in light of the tragic event that happened in Charlottesville. We, as a board and as a town, continually work with the Milton Interfaith Clergy Association to help basically bring to light our diverse community, how we are one community and a no place for hate community. And when things like this, these tragic events happen, we like to make sure that people know that this is a safe haven for people to come together and to share and to empathize and to also find friendship. And we lean on Rabbi Benjamin and the clergy, and we're happy to have Rachel Freed, who's a human rights activist and attorney. So you bring a lot of value to our discussion, and we appreciate you being part of it tonight.
And also connected with Milton Persists as an organization. And I just wanted to add one more word besides tragic, vile. I just want to put that, if you keep records, I just want to make sure
That'll be on the minutes.
that word will
I think
be
that's
added.
more powerful, vile.
Yeah. So why don't you start, Rachel?
Yeah, thank you for hearing me on and welcoming me tonight. I think it's important for our town to have a swift and strategic response to this. I know I reached out to many of you on Sunday as this, and we wanted to hold a vigil that night, as did many community groups across the country. We waited because we wanted to make sure that we did this with the town, and actually we were reaching out to the interfaith clergy as well. But this is such this incident affects us, it affects our community, and in these times, I think it's very important that we stand together and that we bring our community members together, no matter what their background is, and that we show up strongly against hate. And I think it's just, given the fact that there's also another rally coming up in Boston next Saturday, this is a time for folks, many people were going out on the boards asking, who's organizing something, what's going on? And I sort of served as a messenger to say, you know, the town officials have been in communication. There's a few people who are aware of this, and they're organizing an event. But I do feel it's very important that we do this week. So that's one of the reasons I came here, to sort of urge us all to spring into action for this, and to give folks an opportunity to really reflect on this together. And I'm suggesting Wednesday night. I actually put out a organizing call, but I can easily shift that. But for those who were messaging, I wanted to give them an opportunity to come together. But I do think it would be best sponsored by the town and the Interfaith Clergy.
We appreciate that, and we did get your message about Wednesday night. There is a Parks and Recreation sponsored town concert series here on the town green on Wednesday night. So we suggested as a board and working with Micah and the community groups that Thursday might be best if welcomed by the community.
Yeah, I can easily change the date. I think that we got a lot of people's attention, and we can just shift the date.
Which is
So
great.
That would be
Which is
great.
great.
Yeah.
And
Thank
we're
you.
happy to have as many sponsors as possible
would
to make
love
this happen, and the logistics will look to
Sure.
look to you, Michael.
Are we thinking town green, or?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
that's where we usually come together.
Sound system is there,
congregate.
the lights are there, and I don't know if any formal motion is needed to say that you'll be sponsors of the rally. I don't know the process there, but we've done, when similar tragic and vile things have happened, we've always worked together.
And maybe it could be something like the one we did last summer for the Orlando, Florida massacre. And with the pealing of the bells from the two churches would be nice if we have it on the town green.
I agree. I think the more suggestions, the better. The more people we can bring together in the community. On Thursday night, the message that we can get out through our town website, Facebook, social media, and through all the other community groups, I think, join hands, to condemn the vile act that occurred in Charlottesville.
I'd like to go one step further and see if tomorrow, as a board, the three of us, if we could publish a statement, just the fact that, there's no reiterating on no tolerance for hate here, and that, as the rabbi says, incidents that are so vile and hateful that threaten the fragile nature of human life, that we speak very strongly against that. As you know, I've traveled this world and I've seen hate and terrorism in many, many places, from as close as Boston to New York to Northern Ireland and the Middle East. And the one thing I'm proud, and I don't want to speak, but I know we all think this way, and it includes everyone in the room and everyone watching, is that we're a community that truly has no tolerance for something of this nature. I watched Mayor Walsh today come out and speak publicly about the rally that they want to try to bring to Boston on Saturday, and he's of the same mindset that we have. We have a great community here, and even though this is a tragic event, I couldn't foresee that happening in this community ever in a million years because of the type of people who live here and the type of leadership that we have. So I think maybe, Tom, if we just put out maybe a one-line statement on our own website and just speaking very strongly against this, as and how much we cherish the sanctity of human life here in Milton, and I think that would be a good starting point for us.
And of course, we'll look forward to a little extra police help so that no one drives into our group.
Absolutely. And we will put a joint statement out tomorrow. I think that's a great idea, Richard. And an invitation to all to join us and hold hands to condemn the vile act.
I think we'll be working that out within the next 18 hours.
Great, great.
Yeah, but what, is it like 7 or?
I wouldn't want to go
Fine.
much later. It's dark at 8,
thereabouts,
so it's dark at 8 now, so you don't want to go too late.
So,
6:30, 7:30.
6:30?
6:30.
Because if they're going to send a message out.
Yeah, I would recommend 6:30. I think
Yeah,
that,
that'll work.
and that way, youth and teenagers might have an opportunity to participate as well.
6:30 works.
So
Yeah, that's.
let's go with 6:30. Well, if,
So do we want to move to co-sponsor it? Well, I'll move that we
Make a-
co-sponsor the event on Thursday night with the Milton Interfaith Clergy and other groups such as the Milton Persist Group.
So
Any
anyone else?
discussion?
Anyone else you think of?
Yes, there's a long list, but we'll have to just,
You want to co-sponsor? Okay, so that's.
right,
all
we'll get as many people who will sponsor as possible.
you could send them right through the town administrator's office. Anything, we'll put it all together and we'll get the message out.
Very good.
We appreciate it. So any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
If everything was as easy as that request, huh? See, you live in a great community, my friend. You already know that.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, the next agenda item is a quarterly report from James Scroy, our Information Technology Department. Good evening.
Hi, Jim.
Jim.
Wow, this is different.
Isn't it? Richard and I go back a long way.
Jim was hired to work with my father, who was a young lieutenant. He was right out of Northeastern, correct?
1978.
It's a long time ago.
So
Look how you've risen.
Everyone can do the math. So basically, we had a meeting with the newly formed IT committee, and we went over with them what we're doing in IT on the town side and basically our infrastructure. And they seemed pretty pleased, where we're at with it. And they were going to, discuss it further and see if they could make any recommendations. And hopefully they can, be of some help to us moving forward with some projects that we want to move forward here with. And some other things that we're dealing with here. The capital funding that we received for surveillance equipment within the town hall and the police department. We're installing, and this is a joint effort between the IT department and Bill Ritchie and the facilities. The funding was given to Bill in his capital request, and we sort of, took it over as far as implementing it on the technology side. Is equipment that will be in the server room downstairs that interconnects to the recorder that's located at the police department. So there'll be about 20 some odd, I would say 24 cameras in town hall here. Corridors all three, top floor, middle floor, basement, every office will have a camera facing, it's in the office facing outside so that you can see the people as they come in and transact any business. And that will be here and at the police station. It's sort of a redo of the original camera equipment that was installed back in the mid-'80s over there. Additional exterior cameras, additional interior cameras, replacing all of the cameras in the cell block. And that's all, I believe, up and running right now as we speak. The town hall will go online shortly, within the next few days. So I don't know if you have any questions on that. And it's basically just for everyone's protection. I know there's been some, you know, people watching us and whatever, but it's for everybody's protection here.
Good.
So I don't know if anyone has any questions about that.
Sadly, it's the world we live in today, but it's
Well,
clearly,
that's-
it protects the infrastructure of our community, and particularly our employees.
Right.
I don't think they realize how
That's
important
it.
it is in today's day and age.
And the other point I wanted to hit on here was some software that we're in the process of implementing. The clerk's department, Sue Galvin, did some extensive research into software to maintain the public records. And she settled on a product manufactured by a company called GovQA. And we're going to be implementing that shortly. There'll be some training. Each department will be trained in how it's to be used to log all of the requests for information. So that's a major hurdle there, because it was quite an extensive research that she did. She wanted to get the right one, and I think we did. I think this product should serve our needs pretty well. The police department, there's several software products that have been installed or are in the process of being installed. There's a new property management program that was acquired to keep track of all the evidence coming and going, a little bit more detailed than it had been in the past. Let's see, what else are we doing there? There's a training module software package that they're acquiring. Lieutenant Alba is going to be working with that to keep track of all his training efforts. A roll call module, basically to take to replace the verbal and the handwritten data that they do now. This will be also available in the cruises, so they'll know what's going on during the shift, or what needs to be done.
Through PMET or a
No,
different
these are
company?
these are all
Okay.
separate modules that they're buying. A product to keep track of the rules and regulations, another software product. And as always, we're continuously updating the software that we presently have. PMET, which is the records management and CAD, they're constantly upgrading. We just upgraded Crossmatch, which is the fingerprinting program that they have over there that instantly transfers prints to the state and federal government. And Town Hall, the software modules here are constantly being updated. And let's see, what else do we have here? We've been relocating a few people here. There's some switching going on between the departments, so facilities has been relocated down at the DPW building, so that involved computers, phones, so they're pretty well situated down there, so I guess they're just waiting for some finishing work in the offices here to be completed before we do some more moves, so we'll assist in that. And the major issue that we had here, it's been a busy summer with the internet and email, and Comcast has, whatever happened mid-April into May, affected our internet access here. It was constantly dropping to the point where the modem had to be constantly rebooted at various hours of the evening, during the day, and we can't have that because all of our software now, for the most part, is web-based. So when that goes down, there's basically software for payroll, the inspectional services, they have their online permitting, so it affects all the departments. So what we ended up doing here is transferring the circuits. We went to our redundant line, which is RCN. So we're on RCN right now using Comcast as a backup line until we can get them to either resolve the ongoing issue or get a fiber optic line. Mike had a meeting with the Comcast folks, and they threw
The
out...
town administrator and I both met about Comcast, and we're very displeased with the way they've treated us. Yeah, I think it's unforgivable that, you know, they've come in a couple times, and, you know, like Mike Lynch and the cable outfit has been doing yeoman's work. They've been doing the best they can, and it's not their fault.
No, it's definitely
And what
not.
they're trying to do is drive us up in price to buy into another item, and it's just not fair. And so I'm looking for answers, he's looking for answers, and we're going to
Okay.
get to the bottom of that soon.
Well, we have it documented as far as when it happened. It appears to be in the late April, May timeframe, because what we ended up doing was, we have to get into the head end room, which is at the Pierce Middle School, and where it's alarmed and whatever, we put a network card in our UPS down there, so we basically could trip it from Town Hall. We can't do it remotely because when the internet's down, we can't get to it. So the next best thing is we have to come here, get online here, and we can basically shut the UPS off, which in turn shuts the modem off, and then we just restart it. And it's happened quite frequently, and like I said, we have it documented to the April-May timeframe. Now, what they did, we don't know, because they definitely must have done something, because it was working fine up until that point. And like I said, their alternative right now is to go to the fiber optic line, which is not a bad idea because it'll be a faster connection, and with all the additional people hopping on the internet with iPhones and different devices, you need a better circuit and bigger bandwidth. So that's would benefit us. But I think they should make some sort of a concession here that...
But it comes with a cost.
It does.
And that's the problem. And I think that I don't know how hard they've tried to fix this problem. And furthermore, I think that we've had several residents across the town in various locations that haven't gotten the service that they deserve. So
Right.
this is an ongoing problem on multiple levels that I think that they need to respond to.
Well, you know, I haven't had any issues with the folks coming out, the technicians that come out, that, you know, when we call for service. They can only do, you know, what they're told to do. They swap out the modem. I mean, they put a new modem in. It didn't work correctly. We had to go back to the original modem that was in there, a new one, but it's still doing the same thing. And Mike, with his cable television, the same thing. He was having all these issues, and the school folks having the same issue. They did have to go to the other line, because they have the kids with the iPads, they have the kids with all the devices, the teachers and whatever, so their activity skyrocketed. So they're on, I believe, the fiber optics line right now. So the truth will be told when they go
We'll
back
be
to school.
following up with you. We're going to be having more
Yep.
discussions with them and finding out to what extent they're going to cooperate.
Right. But, you know, it's been a long process because, you know, I understand people's frustration, but it's not as simple as taking one wire and plugging it into one modem and the other, because when you switch to another circuit, it has to go through the firewall. And all of the settings have to be reset to accommodate the new circuit. And as things crop up, we have to deal with them. So, but I think we're pretty well set. Today was the last upgrade we had to make, because the state now goes through the internet to get CGIS information.
Right.
They were still going out on Comcast. So everything else was running fine, but when Comcast went down, they couldn't get to run listings, whatever, Board of Probation checks or whatever.
Do you think there's any chance we could get any mitigation from them over this?
We're working through it.
Towards our upgrade?
Yeah, so we're working through it, and Jim's team, Jim and Rob, done a great job with that meeting. We had Bob Patterson from schools in the room, along with Mike Lynch, and to David's point, my heart goes out to Mike Lynch. Their modem would literally stop at 6:45. So they're 15 minutes away from airing a program, and they have to reboot, cross their fingers, and hope that it comes back up by 7 o'clock. And a lot of times it wasn't. So people would be on cable watching Nesson or other channels. They just couldn't get Channel 8 and Channel
Right.
9. So it looked as if Mike's group was the outlier, but it was the modem was popping on them, and there was nothing they could do about it. So they've switched that modem out, which we appreciate, and so far, touch wood.
Right.
Last Tuesday it worked well, last Thursday it worked well for the planning board, and it seems to be working well tonight. But to your point, yeah, we're working through some of the,
Right.
there is a good feature with the fiber optics piece where you can upload as quickly as you can download stuff, which benefits the schools when they're uploading a lot of information. But there is some constant dialogue going on, and I appreciate Jim's group and their activity in trying to resolve this issue.
From what I understand with Mike, he has 2 modems going on down there, one for his, for the cable TV, and one for the phones. He said they were having issues with their phones, and I believe he's still having issues with his phone system. But the internet seems to be working okay. And like I said, the alternative is to go to this fiber, but it comes with a cost. So that's where we're at with that. So as long as everybody's on board with, seeing what we can do to.
And we are. We appreciate the work that you're doing, Jim. Thank you.
Oh, great, thank you. And the last item here, the workstations, we continue to upgrade those, and we'll be upgrading your laptops here as well, because you're on, I think it's Windows 7 on these old computers here, so they're scheduled to be upgraded. We have them downstairs, but like I said, with all the issues going on, we just haven't had the chance to configure them. And lastly, we want to upgrade the policy on the security policy for passwords in the town hall and for all of the town employees to a more secure password configuration, what they call a complex password. It's long overdue, and with things happening as frequently as you hear, and people getting hacked and data getting stolen or whatever. So what we want to do is get a complex password that will be enforced through a policy, which it is now. You have to, type in so many letters, but what we want to do now is go to, say, 8 characters as a minimum with upper, lowercase characters, numbers, and try to get people away from using common things that other folks could figure out, your address, your name, your pet's name, or, whatever. And, people are creatures of habit, and these hackers, they can figure that out in a second or two. And they have software that can, go out there and find it. So the more complex you make it, makes it safer for everybody here. So we'll be implementing that shortly. And other than that, I'm open to any questions.
No.
We're good?
Yeah, thank you very much for coming in, Jim.
Okay,
Appreciate
thanks
it.
a lot.
Vacation yet? Have you had a vacation yet?
I have.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, I was.
It's better than me. Better than poor Mr. Dennehy over here.
Right. He's in the middle of his. Thanks a lot about that.
Let's get him out of here.
Thanks, Jim.
See you, Jim. Have
Thanks,
a good
Jim.
night.
Thanks. Okay, so now we have Mary Ann Sullivan from the Council on Aging, who's going to give us her quarterly report. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you, Mary Ann?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I still can't get used to you sitting there.
Don't worry, I haven't gotten used to it either yet.
Okay. All right, so thank you for having me in tonight to give my quarterly report. As you can see from the information that I shared with you for fiscal 17, the number of seniors using the COA in various forms has grown significantly in the last fiscal year. Many residents just wanted information, others needed help as they had stopped driving, and others had medical conditions that put them in difficult situations. We do our best to help with a wide range of needs, and if we can't help, we are right on top of where to refer seniors for additional help. We also make it a point to follow up with residents to see how they're doing. I'd like to report, too, that the numbers for July have also shown a significant increase. This past quarter, we offered many day trips, 2 overnight trips, and they were all received and sold out right away. We took 200 residents to see the tall ships in June, and trust me, it was no easy task. But they all enjoyed it, and we lost no one, and everybody had a great time. Another interesting increase has been among adult children of elderly parents. They're often faced with a difficult situation for which they are ill-prepared, and they turn to us for help. I think it's great that after years of trying to get the message out, adult children are coming and saying, is this where I can go to get some help? I can't tell you how many times an adult child who lives in town walks in tears, not knowing where to turn for help. We continue to maintain an open door policy, so we stop what we're doing and try our best to offer help and support, but most of all, to listen. This past Friday, we had a fabulous day at the senior center. Our van driver and volunteer, Matt O'Malley, of 6 years, it was his last day. So Richard and Katie were with us. David, I extended your heartfelt best wishes to Matt. He appreciated it. Mike was with us. Now, I have to be honest, I did not know Chase was going to be in the room. Please trust me. But I just think it's really nice. I didn't have the opportunity to meet him as I was on vacation at the department head meeting, and I had sent him an email saying I looked forward to meeting him. And he took the time out of his schedule to come to the senior center and wish Matt well. So I'd just like to commend all of you. I think you've made an excellent choice. So Matt is heading down to Washington, D.C., where he's going to do an internship and then start his career in politics, or so he tells me. I tell him he has a wonderful career in gerontology, but it didn't work out.
I told him the same thing.
I know. He just, you just meet somebody 21 years old, and Richard, I know you saw him in action with the medical situation, and Mike, I know you saw him on the van. It's just unusual in this day and age. As he was leaving, we had a senior who was parked on the grass, there were a lot of people there, and he took the time to go over and help her get in her car. It's just an exceptionally young man, so our new chair, John Fleming, said to him, I hope you have a farm team that you can send somebody up to replace you, but it will be difficult. I'd just like to report, and this will be great news for all the Milton residents, that thanks to our good friend Mike Morrissey, we are going to have another free shred day at the senior center. I can't tell you how many calls we get about that. So the date is going to be Tuesday, October 3rd, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Milton residents will have the opportunity to shed their personal documents free of charge. You can actually watch it being shredded. We have volunteers who will help if you can't, some of the seniors, if they can't lift, because you would not believe the boxes that come in with that. He does it once a year, and it's just so well received. And this year you can also bring like a laptop or electronic devices, televisions, but not the big screen TVs. So we're really, really happy about that. I was happy to hear that there will be a vigil on Thursday. The seniors were certainly talking about the incident, and I think 6:30 is a great time to see if we can get some of them over there as well. I'd also like to report on a wonderful fundraiser to support the Transportation Fund at the Council on Aging. Maureen Conlon, owner of Milton Boot Camp, is once again stepping up to the plate to raise funds for the van by hosting her, I think it's her 4th annual Fit for Life walk. The date will be Saturday, October 14th at 9 a.m. It will be a 3-mile walk with a shorter route for seniors. RaceWire is handling the registration. To date, we've had a great response. Daryl and Patty Elliott of Elliott PT are working with Maureen to put this event over the top. We've done a great job getting some great raffle prizes. I'd like to give a shout out to Brett Kelly, the owner of Brick and Beam, the new restaurant. I know it's in Quincy, but he's a Milton guy. He just called and he said, whatever you need, I'll do it. So I think it's great we have people like that stepping up to the plate. And I'd like to publicly thank Maureen and her team for caring so much about the seniors. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have or comments.
Quite a few programs, and many of them are very well attended. The Friday and special program seemed to be an enormous hit. And I know that you had an excellent cookout with the police department.
That was wonderful, yes, yeah,
And,
fabulous.
So doing a lot of good community things, and it's as you said, an open door for those
Yeah.
in need. Which
And
is,
I think it's great, too, because we're seeing that mix of younger seniors coming through the door who are just surprised at the great programs on health and wellness they can find there and on other, topics that are of interest to them, so.
Well, I think that your department is continuing to grow and flourish, and I think it's going to get stronger and stronger as the years go by.
And I would just like to thank everyone in the town for supporting the override. We now have a full-time outreach coordinator position funded in full by the town. It was greatly needed, so the seniors, the staff, and, will be a benefit to all the departments in the town.
Great. Any
Marianne,
questions?
the statistic that jumped out at me the most was on your transportation report. The vast majority of the seniors who are using that service
in their-
are living in their own home,
yeah.
a single-family home, not a not a Fuller Village or Unquity House or one of the others, but that was quite interesting.
I actually
that
had
number of people
a
using it.
meeting with Mr. Hernandez, the new president of BI Deaconess Milton, and I shared the report with him, and he was shocked too. And what we do with that report, we actually break it down. I didn't want to, give you page on top of page, but how many we take to BI Deacon Milton, how many we take into Mass General, down to Crown Colony, so we can actually break it down. And what that number shows you is just one person. So if Mary Smith is down there as one, she could have used the van more than once, but the state wants an unduplicated count. So we have people we take to radiation. Dialysis is huge, 4 or 5 days a week, so.
It's great.
Great, it really is.
To tell a quick story of the story of Matt. Matt helped us out in Milton Music Fest and drove for us on Sunday. And it was just 2 days later, I was driving home and I saw the van on the side of the road, and Matt was on the sidewalk with this woman. There's something about that kid's face is so bright all the time. Something just told me, pull over. And I got out, sure enough, it was a woman who had just started dialysis. It was her first week. And on this day, just something, they got to the bottom of the stairs and she wasn't going to go.
Any further.
And I said to him, I'll stay with her. He called you, he called in. She didn't want the ambulance, but we took her back in. He stayed with her, got her water. I mean, he just, we talked to him tonight when humanity lives, really is abound in our community, and sometimes we don't see it, but when you look at that kid's face, especially even Friday, every time you see him, it just shows to the character and the quality of some people, many people who worked for this community here, and it says a lot.
And it was a nice outpouring. So many seniors came, and if they couldn't, they sent him a card just to wish him well and to thank him for what he's done. I mean, all of our van drivers are great, but just to see a young person, I think, is exceptional.
Definitely brighten the lives of many people who would never, as you know.
Well, they brighten our lives, trust me. Somebody said, how long have you been doing this? I said, I'm starting my 26th year. When are you going to retire? Why retire when you love what you do and the people are so great? But, we do our best. Are we perfect? No. Do we try? Yes. So I think
We
that's all you
appreciate
can
it.
ask.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Mary Ann.
Thank you.
We
Have a good
appreciate it.
evening.
Have a great
Good
evening.
night. Take care.
Let's get to my agenda. Okay, next we have a conference with the Milton Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition. Public Health Director Carolyn Kinsella and Laurie Stillman of the Milton Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition are going to join us, along with MSAPC core stakeholder Stefan O'Keel and MSAPC consultant Laurie Stillman, and share with us. You got it twice tonight. Yeah, share with us. And Deborah Milbauer. I apologize. Nice to see you, Deborah. Join us here today to talk about their strategic plan, and we look forward to it. The work that they've been doing has been absolutely unbelievable. We've met often. Your membership continues to grow, and you're deeply supported by us in the town, and we're very grateful for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to review some of the progress that we've made over the past 2.5 years. We are actually entering our 3rd year of the Milton Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition, and really I'm very proud of what we've accomplished so far. We built the coalition from the 12 sectors of the community. Can you hear? Okay.
Oh, good.
Which includes students, parents, school, media, fire, police. We have over 350 members now, and our website is maintained by our volunteer, Steve Nelson, who's really awesome. I mean, we've really come so far. I've given you the paperwork, the resource guide that we've created. We've built a governance structure and operating structure in that time, and provided educational opportunities to the schools and community to raise awareness and concern about substance abuse. We've spent time over the past 2 years collecting community data about the prevalence and behaviors related to substance abuse and use in Milton. We have had numerous focus groups, including children, the kids in the high school and adults, key informant interviews, a parent survey with over almost 800 participants with that. We've looked at the youth risk behavior survey that is administered in the schools, and looked at hospital data, found ambulance data, and through all this survey that we've done over this time, what did we find out? We found out that in Milton, through the parent survey, it was revealed that 1 in 5 parents reported that an immediate family member was in recovery, that our Milton kids have double the rate of binge drinking than the state average, and that our Milton kids have a 34% higher rate of using marijuana regularly than the state average. So that's really unbelievable. But we had to do this survey to find out really what is the unique problem in Milton. We are seeing growing rates of opioid addiction in our community based on rehab data. 9 out of 10 alcohol and drug addictions begin under the age of 18. And what's happening is the brain is developing right into the 20s, the mid-20s to the late 20s. And what we want to do as a coalition is we want to focus on youth. And that's why it's so important to delay the consumption of alcohol and drugs. And that's what we're focusing on youth. So I'm really proud of what we've done over the past 2 years, and I hope that we continue to move the coalition forward. So it's really been wonderful. And I'd like to introduce Steve Keel to speak a little bit more about our accomplishments.
Good evening. It's good to be here. I'm just always amazed at the amount of work that Carolyn and Laurie and Deborah do to facilitate the coalition and bring things together. It always amazes me, even though I'm in the coalition itself. I know a number of you. I've lived in the town for about 36 years. I've been a town meeting member for about 20 years. And I served on the warrant committee, as Katie knows, for 4 years.
I was going to say it if he didn't say it. The hardest job in town.
2 of those years with Katie. I've been a clinical social worker for about 45 years, working in the area of substance-related issues. So I thought it was important to let you know that. And I'm the former director of prevention services for the Department of Public Health. So I pretty much ran substance abuse prevention services for the state for about 15 years prior to my retirement from the state. And I was appointed to the National Advisory Committee for the Center of Substance Abuse Prevention in 2014, and I still serve in that particular group. I say that because I still think there are some things, the information that I have access to that I think will be of value to the coalition. It's one of the things that I can bring. I think as you hear about the other members of the coalition, it's just amazing the other experiences and values that other people bring to the table. At present, the coalition is attempting to achieve sustainability in a number of ways. First, we have a strong set of town leaders and citizens that comprise our core stakeholder group. This is the group that helps decide the direction that the coalition takes at the present time and probably will be taking into the near future. The group decides the policies, the practices, and that we want to discuss and ask for support for from the town. What I'd like to do is read to you the names and the affiliations of the 15 core stakeholder group members, because I think you'll be impressed by the show of commitment and the breadth of the experience that these people bring to the actual coalition. Carolyn, you've met before. I don't know how Carolyn does what she does in 24 hours, but she does it. Dr. Susan Koch-Wesser is a professor of public health at Tufts University and is also a resident and vice chair of of the coalition. Ariel Solomon is a student at Milton High School. And while we're discussing the core stakeholders group here, it's important to note the level of involvement by the students has been a particular strength of the coalition and is not always the case with many coalitions that I've observed in Massachusetts and around the country. That's quite an achievement. Noel Vigue is the Milton School Systems Director of Health and Physical Education. John King, our Chief of Police, has been an exemplary member. Pat Desmond is the publisher of the Milton Times. Reverend Shelley Davis represents the Milton Interfaith Clergy Association. David Walgren is the program manager at Cunningham Park. Robert McChrystal is the director of communications and represents Milton's Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital. Christine Hamilton and Ted Carroll represent Fallon Ambulance. Kim Williams represents the Blue Hill Community Health Alliance. Eugene Barrows is a Milton parent and public health professional. And Karen Gross-Horan represents the citizens of a diverse Milton, and Vicki McCarthy and I are active community members. This is the core stakeholder group. The full coalition brings even more participants to the table. Milton is truly blessed to have the level of participation that it has. Recently, our coalition met and discussed and took a vote on some policy issues. We want you to know that we support your efforts to restrict the access to recreational marijuana facilities in town. For youth, easy access means lower perception of risk. And youth use is, of course, one of the major foci of the coalition. We're also excited about your efforts to discuss an alcohol tax to support the future of the coalition. We know that's a discussion, and we're excited that that discussion is taking place as we go forward. Raising ongoing funding is continually a challenge for a group of our sort, for a coalition. Many other towns support their coalitions with staffing, with program support through municipal budgets. We just went through an override, and we know how tight money is and how dear money is in our town. Yet we also realize how important it is to try to identify resources that could be useful as the coalition goes forward. We are grateful to Senator Walter Timilty for obtaining an additional $25,000 from the state to support our efforts this year. That was just really on time, and it's extremely helpful. But we probably need about 4 times that amount of money to do a robust job over the next 5 to 10 years, because this is what it takes to change community behaviors. Many times people think that prevention is a one-and-done type of activity. For those of us who have ever raised children, you know that you do the prevention activity with the first child, you do the prevention activities with the second child, you do the prevention activities with the third child, and you never stop doing the prevention activities. And that's pretty much what it takes. It's an ongoing process. And in a town, we have many, many, many more children than just a couple that any one of us may have. In December, nearly 70 residents got together for a 3.5-hour retreat to plan our priorities for the 5-year strategic plan. And the core stakeholder group refined those strategies. Now we need to find the funding to implement that strategic plan, and Laurie will speak about that in a minute. My part of the presentation is nearly over, but I would like to leave you with these thoughts. You can't do this work for a long time without at least having some thoughts about what substance abuse means and what some of the implications are. While substance abuse prevention work occurs at the national, the state, the local, and the community levels, and I've seen all of it at those different levels. I just came back from a conference in Washington at the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration as part of this advisory group, and I saw what happens at the national level. The most important work is at the community level. The most important work that takes place is the work that takes place here tonight and among all of the coalition members and all of the participants. Nothing else is going to happen if those people don't move things forward. Substance misuse goes across all demographics and the whole lifespan. And I repeat that many times to people. It involves all races, genders, religions. It involves all families. It involves individuals, families, and all aspects of our community. Like it or not, one way or another, we are often impacted by substance abuse, either indirectly or directly. And I would imagine if we spoke to each other in terms of families, we would understand experiences that many people have had in their individual families. Substance misuse will not be going away in our lifetime. That's sad to say. We would like to think it can be erased, eliminated, and stopped, but as long as we have substances, they're going to be misused, and there's the potential for their misuse. As we go forward, that's going to be true now more than ever. We probably need to think of substance misuse prevention like we think of fire prevention. The irony there, of course, is we spend a great deal of time with fire prevention in terms of policies and changes. We all have smoke detectors in our houses in terms of prevention. It's written into the code. About 5,000 people died nationally as a result of fires in our country. About 55,000 people died as a result of substance abuse overdoses. We understand when we talk about fire prevention, we have a much more difficult time when we talk about substance abuse prevention. Yet we, in fact, know what it is. We need to understand that prevention needs to be in place and is, in fact, a cost of doing business. It's just what has to be paid in order to make it happen. much like fire prevention. We know it works, and we know we need the resources, the commitment, and the motivation to make it work. I could go on and on, and I'm sure I would get in serious trouble. But what I would say is we would welcome your questions. Any member of the coalition would welcome your questions. We would look forward to try to answer them, and if we couldn't, try to find ways that we might be able to find the answers. I'm going to now hand over the mic to Laurie, and she, our consummate public health consultant, and she will present to you and the listening audience the highlights of our strategic plan that really involved a really large number of community residents and coalition members. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. That was awesome. I can't say enough about how many talented public health people there are in our little Milton community. We are so fortunate to have them at our table, and I think that that really speaks to why we've made so much progress in our little coalition in such a short period of time. I'd like to just very briefly go over our new strategic plan, which I'm really excited about. Basically, I want to just say that the overarching goal is to reduce youth substance abuse with a focus on the 3 issues that we've identified in our community assessment: alcohol, youth alcohol, marijuana consumption, and misuse of unauthorized prescription drugs. Those are the 3 things. We can't deal with it all, so we've got to focus our efforts on the issues that we know are the most challenging, and we will be doing that by working to reduce the contributors to substance use in our community and enhance those factors that we know can protect our children. So that's our overall goal. We found that there were 4 major drivers of youth substance use in our town. Number 1 was that kids were expressing high rates of depression, stress and anxiety, as well as boredom. They don't have enough to do after school, on the weekends and on vacations in particular. Those are the critical times. Number 2 is people don't totally understand or appreciate the harms and risks of substances and how then to deal with them when they're confronted with them. Number 3 is that we have certain traditions in our town where, in particular, alcohol in youth is considered a sort of rite of passage. Not with all youth and not with all families, but there is a lot of acceptance that kids will be kids and this is what they do. And in addition, with the passage of the recreational marijuana issues, there's a lot of concern that new perceptions about marijuana will be raised, and people don't appreciate how marijuana affects the brain. We'll get to that in a few moments. And finally, kids told us that there is easy access to alcohol and drugs, particularly in the home. So those are the 4 issues that we want to address, and we turn them into objectives. So if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Dennehy, going to objective 1. We want to reduce youth feelings of stress, depression, and boredom. And we have 4 major strategies. One is that we want to enhance positive social opportunities in Milton for kids. And I know that I've heard the selectmen talk about wanting to take that on, and it would be great if we as a community could do that. Number 2, we want to reduce the stigma associated with mental health and addiction issues. We want people to feel comfortable about looking for help and that they know that this is going to be a caring community where they can get help. Number 3, we want to implement SBIRT at the schools. SBIRT is a time-tested screening device used to actually be able to talk to kids very briefly and get a sense of who's most at risk. I'm very excited to say that we've met with a number of staff in the schools, and they're going to implement it starting this year. And fourthly, we want parents to be able to recognize and address mental illness, as well as teachers and others, so that they can recognize it if they see signs and symptoms and address it early on. So objective number 2 is to increase understanding of the ways and reasons to resist youth substances. And there, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quick strategies. We want to implement parent education opportunities. We want to build youth life skills so that they can resist peer pressure, which peer pressure was a big issue raised in our surveys. Number 3, we want to increase understanding of risks and harms of underage drinking, using marijuana, and abusing prescription drugs. And finally, we want to keep on surveying parents and kids about their knowledge and perception so that we can continually know whether we're making progress and that we're addressing our messages properly. Objective 3. We want to change community attitudes, behaviors, beliefs, and traditions which support underage substance use. And to do that, we want to review municipal policies and protocols at both in the town and the schools and police, and make sure that we're following best practices. Number 2, we want to develop a campaign amongst kids to reduce underage binge drinking. Number 3, we want to launch a media campaign to change parents' attitudes that it's okay to serve kids, and that as long as they're being supervised, it's fine to drink. That's a problem. We want to change those attitudes. Number 4, we want to build parenting skills so that they can promote youth healthy behaviors and choices. And 5th, we want to continue surveying parents about their beliefs and attitudes about drug and alcohol. And finally, we want to reduce easy access to alcohol and illicit drugs. And so we have 4 strategies there. We want to increase understanding of the law. The law says that adults can't serve kids under 21. What we found in our surveys is that particularly older siblings are serving their younger siblings. We want to reach those older siblings and let them know they're putting their own reputations at risk by serving their younger siblings. Number 2, we want to continue promoting drug take-back days with the police department so we can reduce unnecessary, dangerous, addictive drugs in the home. Number 3, we want to create a communications campaign so that parents know to secure alcohol and drugs in the home and make it more difficult for kids to get access as they are, experimenters. And finally, we want to prevent youth access to recreational marijuana, including edibles, because we know that this is a growing problem. So that is our overview of our strategic plan. I believe you were sent the more in-depth strategic plan, which talked about who will be responsible for what and what audiences apply to each of these strategies. But this is the overview. The way that we will be effective as a coalition is if everybody is aligned and doing similar things. When messages and opportunities get repeated, that's when there's uptake of new behaviors and beliefs. And so we want to make sure that we're all working together. I want to say 2 exciting things before I turn this over to Deborah very quickly, just to talk about what our activities committee is doing. We're working with Weymouth, Braintree, and Quincy to launch an immediate media campaign to let parents know and older siblings know that it is illegal and improper to be serving young kids alcohol. And that's going to be launched soon. We're looking for parents who are going to be volunteering, who would be willing to volunteer in a focus group where we can test the messages, and then we're hiring a professional media consultant to get those messages out. So we're really excited about that. And secondly, we're in the process of talking with Chief King about adopting a post-overdose response team here in Milton. Plymouth is the model, and I'm sure you're aware of it. But what we are hoping to do is that after an overdose, to team up plainclothes policemen with either a public health or social worker or medical personnel and visit the family the following day to try and get those people into treatment. Plymouth has an 85% success rate in getting folks into treatment after this kind of process, and so we're going to be calling together first responders in Milton to meet with key Plymouth staff to learn about how we might implement it here in Milton. So I'm very excited about that, and I'd like to now turn this over to Deborah Milbauer.
Give her the mic.
Hi. My name is Deborah Milbauer. Hello, I know many of you. I am a parent and a Milton resident, and I am a Precinct 4 town meeting member, and I'm actively involved in the Pine Tree Brook Neighborhood Association, helping to run that. And I am a public health consultant, and I've been working with the coalition since the beginning, and it is very exciting to see how much growth has happened. I've experienced statewide with other coalitions, and it's really stunning, the speed and the investment from town officials. There are superintendents, there's chief of police, there are selectmen, all in, that it takes time to get them on board and to get them invested, and coalition building is challenging and hard work in other communities. And in this community, I've just been blown away by how everybody threw their hat in the ring, and just superintendent, chief of police, selectmen, it's just been really great to, see it firsthand in my own town. So I just want to give everyone kudos for that. Okay. So I help chair the activity subcommittee. So we are just a group of volunteers, residents in the town, who help pull off different events. And for example, we've partnered in the past with the police on sponsoring prescription medication take-back days. So those have been very successful. And we've also done a number of community and school educational events. Last October, we did a very successful parent forum. Hundreds of parents went, I think over 250. It was really, really exciting, and we're hoping to continue that. We, right now, we are working on helping to promote a very exciting opportunity. Mike Mulcahy, who was a longtime resident, the Mulcahy's, I'm sure many of you know their family. Mike Mulcahy died this past December, and their family is organizing a 5K walk run called Mike's 5K Walk Run to Crush Substance Abuse in his honor. And we were incredibly honored and blown away when they approached us, John Mulcahy, Mike's brother, to say that the proceeds of the 5K will be going to the Gavin Foundation and the Milton Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition. So we were very moved by that, and we are helping to support them, and I know you guys are also involved in that too. Yes, we'll talk. Yes, we have. We are also helping the district attorney's office, Michael Morrissey, promote their Safe Prescriber Conference on September 14th, which they are hosting and organizing. It's a regional conference, and we are helping to promote it and make sure that the appropriate professionals and prescribers in Milton are aware, and Milton Hospital has been very active in getting the word out, and we've been getting the word out to local prescribers as well. We are going to have a table at Celebrate Milton October 1st on Sunday, 1 to 4. So if you're interested in learning more about the coalition and just talking one-on-one about what we do, or if you want to get involved, please come to our table. We need volunteers. Everything we do is all volunteer, and we're very grateful for folks stepping up to the plate. Recently, new resident in the community helped hand out lots of flyers for the prescriber conference. So if you are interested in volunteering, just go to our website, milton-coalition.org, and you can subscribe to the newsletter and also express your interest in volunteering. We're always very happy to welcome new faces. And I also just want to say, before I move on to some of the big events we're planning with the school in the fall, in the coming year, is we especially the work I do with the coalition, and really, frankly, everything we do. The CHNA grant, I think you referenced it earlier, the CHNA grant, Community, what does it stand for? Community Health Network Alliance. It's the Blue Hills Health Network, Regional Health Network, and our 3-year grant with them is coming to an end, and Beth Israel Deaconess, Milton Hospitals also kicked in some support for the coalition, but that's, the CHNA's coming to an end, and it's incredibly, it's been really important to us in all the work we've done, the CHNA grant and the support from the hospital, as well as other smaller grants we've gotten. So I just want to say a lot of this work, there's a lot of program costs involved, and we just are really grateful for what we've gotten to date. Okay, so upcoming in the coming school year, we're really excited about partnering with the schools on a parent education series, and PARENT stands for Promoting Awareness and Resources About the Emotional Nurturing of Teens. So, one of our rock star presenters is Dr. Ruth Potee, and I've had the honor to hear her present more than once. She is an impressive family practice physician in Greenfield, Massachusetts, who is also an addiction specialist and advocate, and she speaks passionately across kids and health providers about ways to prevent drug and alcohol addiction. And she's very animated, although I have to admit in this video clip that I'm about to show you, she's a little more subdued, but she really is very animated and very engaging, and you hang on every single word. So we're so thrilled and excited that the schools, that we're supporting the schools and partnering with the schools and bringing her to this year. So I'm going to show you about a 7-minute clip of her work with student athletes, so you can get a sense of the kinds of prevention messages we're trying to get across to parents and coaches, since student athletes are at higher risk of opioid addiction, which Dr. Potee explains in this clip. So, without further ado.
If you right-click on that, or you copy it and put it into the internet, it'll be fine. The phone, I think.
Looks like we're trying to just get the clip going right now, so hang on.
I'm not sure if we can plug that in over there.
Well, can I say one more thing while we're stalling?
No.
I don't think we have
So Mike's 5K walk run, it's not just a run, it's a walk,
Right.
so everyone can participate, is Saturday, October 21st, and the walk run is looking for sponsors, and we're also looking, especially, the Mulcahys really want youth to participate, and the schools are going to be helping us get groups together, but families can join, and registration is on RaceWire, so they're organizing the race, and you can register there. So October 21st, start training now.
So I just want to make a point, since we're waiting for this, that...
Yeah, we have no internet connection here this evening, so.
Didn't we have this discussion?
Yeah, so we're
Where is Jim
we'll be on the
Segura?
phone with them tomorrow morning.
Well, again, very far, David. But
Apologies,
I
Deborah.
can see...
We're gonna keep-
look,
we're
I
gonna
hear
keep
it,
working.
I hear it. The word mitigation
Certainly
just got
post it
bigger.
on the website tomorrow, yes.
I do want to say that...
Post on the website tomorrow, Dave.
Yeah.
You mentioned the vote that we took, and even though we can't undo what was voted in the Commonwealth, we realized that the addition of recreational marijuana to our state is going to be significant, especially to young adults. And it's not so much, like, we all grew up with marijuana, we just did. But I've been to Seattle where it's legal, and this is, we're talking stores, and when you're referring to, Laurie was referring to older siblings purchasing for younger ones, it's serving, it's the purchasing, it's going and buying it and putting it in the car, and they will be able to do the same thing. And while we may not have a marijuana recreational facility here, they are going to exist in the Commonwealth, and there is going to be, marijuana in candy form and edible form, in forms that make it look as innocent as a Milky Way or a package of Skittles, and that's really going to become a very large thing, you probably already realize this, that's going to come on your plate. Because that's a risk that I grew up in the era where you try to hide a 30-pack in your backpack, or you try to get 10 kids to sneak a keg of beer up into the quarries. Today, kids have gotten smarter. They realize that the police officer in the car is going to, your parents are going to see that. So today, it's easier, like narcotics in the house, and you talk about the drug give back. Forget the national one. Just talk about how much that dispensary is filled on a weekly basis. How many trips Lieutenant Caputo makes annually just from this town with legally prescribed drugs to be disposed of. And so, as you said, Stephen, this isn't going to go away your life or my life. But the work is going to get that much better because we are in the middle of a huge crisis in opioids. And we've just, I heard one politician yesterday say, well, this is how we'll deal with the opioid cross. We use the profits from the marijuana to deal with negating the opioid crisis, and I just don't see it working that way. You don't use one to negate another. The good thing I will say is that when I was in high school, shortly before, when the Vietnam War had just ended, opioids was massive in Massachusetts. If you look at statistics, our breaking and enterings were almost all opioid driven, and then as we get into the 80s, it almost was eradicated completely. It was because of oxys and script, it came back. But you have a lot of work ahead of you, and that was one vote we could take that helped this, but it's only stemmed it off. We couldn't.
You're talking the town meeting article, Richard?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and we'll need the coalition support at town meeting to really get up and speak to that. And the good news is the three of you are all town meeting members, so that helps.
That does help us. So I can say that we will post that clip tomorrow on our website and promote it, okay? I think it's important for us to do so. I think, obviously, it's very powerful and engaging and tells a good story. So we apologize for the inconvenience tonight. We've had these problems with Comcast.
As you heard.
As you heard, and we're going to get to the bottom of that.
I just want to add one more thing. So I said we partner with the Milton Police Department to do the prescription takebacks, but I just want to acknowledge that the Milton Police Station, for those of you listening at home, has a 24-hour kiosk, not just the one, a couple times a year, but they have a 24-hour kiosk, and it's in the lobby, no questions asked. You can just go in and dump your unused or expired medication in the kiosk and walk out. You don't have to check in with anybody. So I just want to thank the police.
No needles.
No needles. So call the health department
Yeah,
for the needles.
call Carolyn, anytime, 24/7.
Yeah,
So in conclusion, thank you so much for all your support of the coalition. You've really been great, and we hope to sustain our coalition. We've advertised for a part-time program director, a 14-hour position, and we're hoping that this person that we get has a lot of grant writing experience, fundraising experience, and will take us to the next level. So that's what we're hoping. We really have to sustain this coalition because we've done such great work. We want to move it forward.
I want to commend all of you, but I also want to let the folks at home know that we're not fortunate enough to have a full-time substance abuse counselor, whereas most of our neighbors are. So the work that you're all doing as volunteers and at the pace, as Deborah mentioned, and with the collaboration is absolutely remarkable. This board will continue to be side by side with you, along with every other partner in the community, to help make sure that we reach every family with what they need to get the support they deserve. So thank you.
No more important work in the town, right?
It's the most important work.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Thanks for coming in. Bye, Deb.
Okay, item number 9 on our agenda is the approval of water and sewer rates. So Chase Berkeley, our Director of Public Works, will join us.
Thank you, Steve.
Everybody. I have with me Toby Fetter from the firm Woodard & Curran, who is our consultant on rate analysis, has been since 2008 for the town of Milton.
Thanks. Good evening, Toby.
Good evening.
So I trust you've all had a chance to take a look at the documentation we put together. To summarize it briefly, we're recommending no raise in either water or sewer rate, despite an increase in the MWRA's assessment of 2.6%. Part of this conclusion came from surplus revenues from last year's sales which we found to be in excess of a typical year, attributed to the drought-like conditions that we're seeing. Being an MWRA community, we had no ban on water use, so the opposite effect occurred as those towns that did have a ban where their sales actually plummeted, our sales surged in those conditions. So what I thought I would do is ask Toby to just highlight some of the key sections of his report for the benefit of everyone at home who hasn't seen the document, and then any discussion you'd like to have following that.
Sure. So it's basically the standard report that we've written now for almost a decade in Milton, based upon the outline that was originally set forth by Walter Heller, a procedure in your position. But in any case, what the water and sewer rate report does is it takes a look at what you've expended at town meeting or what you voted to expend in the coming fiscal cycle at town meeting. We then go in, we download from the billing system anonymized data about the amount of water and sewer sales that are made, and we take a look at the town policies around things such as the minimum quarterly charge that's assessed to everyone, and then we use a financial model that we've developed over the years to basically calculate where we think we need rates to be. That's the starting point of the conversation. Then we generally come in and we have a discussion about where current reserves are and what sort of results we're looking for the coming cycle. And we use sort of the totality of that information to develop a rate table for the coming year. Now, as you know, Milton has what's known as a 4-tier inclined rate box structure, where as you use more water, you pay more per gallon. Fairly common, and obviously the strong reasoning behind those is that it does two things. It promotes conservation, and in truth, it shifts the cost of services onto those who are most heavily using town systems, both of which are exceedingly common in the state of Massachusetts and, in truth, under state law required for all MWRA communities. So as Chase had indicated, one of the first things we do is as we go into any fiscal cycles, we take a look at how the preceding rate recommendation worked. And as he indicated, especially on the water side, on the sewer side, you basically came in on revenues where we designed and where we expected you to come in. But on the water side, because of the large irrigation demands associated with the drought last year, and the fact that Milton did not have any of the water bans that some communities have, you sold a lot of irrigation water, and that ended up with a fairly large amount of excess revenues above what the rates were designed to give, because obviously we designed the rates around an average year, and in a drought year, you sell more water and you push more of the consumption into the higher tiers where the water is more expensive. And so we took that information, we combined it with the budgetary information that was voted on at town meeting this year, and as you would indicate, you do have an increasing water budget this year, especially the sewer budget is roughly level, down just slightly due to changes in capital application or allocations. But on the water side, your budget is actually going up pretty significantly. Now, because we had a very good year last year, and because the water enterprise funds reserve balances are healthy, the town elected or asked me to assess what level of excess revenues last year would be needed in order to maintain rates for the coming year, since that is perfectly fine. Many communities do it. So we took a look at that. That looks to be around 400. It's actually almost exactly $435,000 of last year's excess revenues that we propose to use in order to basically subsidize this year's rates. So we'll take in a little bit less money than we spend, but we're going to use some of the excess money that we gained last year to balance.
Okay.
And that helps us to keep water rates as a reasonable level. We're not trying to build an excessive balance in either water or sewer. And so it allows us to use one year's excellent financial results to help offset the cost of bills for the coming fiscal cycle. And when you're trying to design around an average water year, this sometimes happens. So, as you had indicated, in other communities, in non-MWRA, non-Merrimack River Valley communities, actually many of the water systems have actually had very, very bad financial results from the preceding year because they lost all of their irrigation demand and put watering bans that while conservation-wise are a very good idea, obviously, when you're metering water, and that is the metric by which you're selling the product you sell, has very big impact on rates. And so, so yes, to your point, Chase, we took a look at the financials, ran them through the financial model that we've been using now for almost a decade, and it indicates that we should be able to hold water and sewer rates stable, certainly for this coming fiscal cycle, fiscal 18, and then we'll reassess next year as we do every year. With that, I'm happy to take any questions you have.
I'd just like to point out, too, this report was a collaborative effort, between the town administrator's office, the town accountant, and some pro bono work by Jay Fundling, who was kind enough to review it on his own time. So I just want to
Thank you, Jay.
express my
Yeah,
appreciation for that.
we too, as a board, want to express our appreciation to Jay. We're very fortunate as a town to have so many people, volunteers, who are professionals in various capacities that make us stronger and smarter. We can't do it all without them, so thank you.
Speaking of Jay, can I just ask, because Jay had a number of questions that he forwarded over, and I know you were meeting just as we were starting our meeting. Are all of those questions resolved? Are there any open issues or any?
Yes.
Jay's giving us the thumbs up, so so it sounds like everything's been answered, and we'll.
Which is great.
That's great.
Thank you for the questions, Jay.
Thank you, too, yes, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Does this happen a lot? I've never heard of this before. Is this, not that I,
You mean
even
holding
though I'm a
rates
resident,
level?
I don't really follow, I just pay the bill. Is this common for us to be able to hold the rates for a year?
I believe the last time was 2012?
It's been a couple of years since you've held them. I don't know the last time exactly. I mean, one of the challenges in MWRA communities is in a lot of ways you're at the mercy of the
Right.
MWRA.
Right.
Your allocation goes up, generally speaking, for the average community by the average increase at the MWRA's overall. How they divvy up the pie, so to speak, is well, it's pretty boring, so I won't get tedious in the conversation. But I mean, if the bill's coming in where the water bill and the sewer bill from the MWRA make up a large chunk of every town's budget for water and sewer services, if the biggest thing on your budgetary line item is going up by 3-4%, generally speaking, your rates are going to have to too if you don't want to run deficits.
Oh, in the year of an override, this is good timing, so.
Yes.
Very
Great
happy
news.
about this.
Yes.
Good
I'm
news.
sure a lot of people will be happy. Can we get this in the front page of the Milton Times? No, thank you for this.
Yeah.
People will be very happy. And I do want to give a shout out to Kim Casey, who is one of your, who works. A lot of people don't realize how much work it takes to maintain. You know, we turn on the water every day and I just went this year for the first time in my life to see Quabbin Reservoir. And if you've never seen that in this state, it's something everyone should see. It's just a magnificent, unbelievable. It's beyond even description, not just the natural beauty, but what the type of water quality that we have here. It's amazing to go out there and see it. And so, but Kim works very hard. She takes a great deal of pride in the water system. And
She sure does, and she knows it.
she does. She knows it inside and out. It's amazing.
And especially over the last couple of weeks, to add to your point, Richard, and Chase, I want, for your employees, that I got positive phone calls on the hard work that you all put in on the water main breaks and out there in the middle of the night at 1 o'clock in the morning, and residents were grateful and they appreciate, the time that you guys put in.
I'm glad to hear that. Certainly those type of events demonstrate how quickly a stable system can become unstable.
Right.
And it's important that we, keep that in mind and invest in that system.
It is an old
It's out of
system,
sight
yeah. It's an old.
For the most part, yeah.
This was a busy time to start, Chase, your new job, right?
No, it's actually great because, it's a busy time for a lot of reasons, and great to see everything in action.
Yeah.
Just to echo what David said, just in your short time here, I've read several very positive emails here, and thank you, Mr. Dennehy. Good pick.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to be a credit to this community, I really do.
We appreciate it.
We're here to help you.
Thanks.
Okay, so do you have anybody else have any questions? We have a motion before us?
No, it's just great news. You want to make this one, or I'll make?
I'll make it, I'll do
Okay.
whatever you want. So I will make a motion to approve the following 4-tier water and sewer rate system for fiscal year 2018. The water rates is 0 to 600, is that cubic?
Cubic feet.
See, I can tell you from public safety, I'm like, CF. The 2018 water rate, 0 to 600, will be $5.43, and the sewer rate will be $6.71. 601 cubic feet to 3,000 cubic feet will be $6.57. Water rate, $12.65. Sewer rate, 3,001 to 6,000 cubic feet will be $7.24. The water rate, $13.94 on the sewer rate, and 6,000 plus cubic feet, 2018 water rate will be $7.69, and the sewer rate, $14.88.
And I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
If I could just add one comment about Miss Casey. We talked about Matt O'Malley tonight, and I had spoken Friday about the underrated people that do work in this town. Kim Casey is at the top of that chart, literally. People that, you know, the constituents drive around town and they see these people, and a lot of them, they're nameless people, but she's at the top of that list with people that you probably don't know as you drive through town, but they're always working, and they love what they do, so.
At any hour of the day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Any day of the year,
Right.
any water, any temperature.
Seen it in front of my own house at 3 in the morning.
There you go.
Yep.
We used to call it the quiet piece of public safety, public works.
Absolutely.
you know?
Listen,
The silent arm.
they are near and dear, your department near and dear to my heart. Just, I can't say enough, and I've felt that way for a long time, and you're going to do a good job there. It's going to be very good.
Thanks. Have a great night.
Toby, thanks for all your work.
Thank
Yeah.
you,
Take
Toby.
care, thank you.
Okay, item 10, approval to reopen and close the October 2017 special town meeting warrant for addition of articles, with 3 articles for October 2017 special town meeting. They're being sponsored by the Board of Selectmen. They were submitted prior to the deadline for warrant closing on August 7th at 5 p.m. However, they weren't formally voted for board sponsorship. As such, the warrant is being reopened for the board to vote to submit those articles. So we have a few motions ahead of us.
So I'll move that we reopen the October 2017 special town meeting warrant for the approval and addition of 3 Boards of Selectmen sponsored articles.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll do the next one? Oh, you want to-
Sure.
I'll make a motion to submit a general bylaw article regarding construction noise to the October 27th special town meeting.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
No.
Just thank you to the planning board, because they wrote this for us, and they did a nice job on it, I thought.
Did an excellent job.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll move that we submit an article to amend the vote of the May 2017 annual town meeting under Article 22 Water Enterprise to the October 2017 special town meeting.
Second.
Any discussion?
We should just tell the viewers that it relates to what we just talked about with setting the rates.
It does. And obviously, we appreciate the hard work that was put in, so it'll be very helpful. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Go ahead.
I'm going to be
Go ahead. You
recused
do
on
it.
this one, so I'm going to step out of the room.
you?
This relates to a
Bonding?
possible bonding project for the Blue Hills Regional Technical School, and there's not many law firms, unfortunately, that do bonding work, and I work for the one that does do a lot of it, so I checked, and we have the school as a client, so I'm going to recuse myself. I will come back into the room once you're done.
I'll be quick. So this motion is to submit an article regarding the Blue Hills Regional Technical School capital project to the October 27 special 2017. No, I got the date wrong. October 2017 special town meeting.
Yeah, I'll second that. Any discussion?
No.
So with that,
Yeah, very, very quickly, the 50-year-old school where 49 of our town's young adults attend is going, they're proposing an $84 million project. Milton's portion of that bonding over 30 years would be roughly $150,000. It's done on a per-student basis. Obviously, there's other communities that have had a lot more, higher percentage of enrollment there. This is an article to, the way it's written at town meeting floor, would be to disapprove the approval of the bonding. It's a bit wordy, but basically, we're putting it to the town meeting members in the special town meeting in October to take a look at this project that they had presented to the warrant committee in February.
and allow them to vote on it.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Katie,
to the left,
back in here.
left, there she is, yeah.
And we have our final motion.
I'll move that we close the October 2017 special town meeting warrant.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Okay, we'll move on to item 11, discussion or approval of articles for inclusion in the October 2017 special town meeting warrant.
Anyone
Can we do this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do we want to read them all?
Yeah, we might as
Okay,
well.
all right. I'll move that we approve the following articles for inclusion in the October 2017 special town meeting warrant. One is to amend Section 2C of the zoning bylaws for advertising signs in the business district. Second one is to amend Section B3, 3B of the zoning bylaws for temporary signs. Number 3, to amend Section 4 of the zoning bylaws, pre-existing non-conforming structures. Number 4 is to amend the general bylaws to add the construction noise article to Chapter 24. Fifth article is to amend the general bylaws to add Section 25, prohibition of marijuana establishments, and to amend the zoning bylaws to add Section 3, subsection T, prohibition of marijuana establishments. Also to amend Section 5 of the zoning bylaws to add subsection I, maintenance of buildings, to amend Section 10 of the general bylaws for designation of sections. The next article is to authorize the town clerk to update the bylaws. The next article is to amend Section 7 of the zoning bylaws to add subsection L for bicycle parking. To amend the vote of the May 2017 annual town meeting under Article 22, water enterprise. The next article is to amend Chapter 13 of the general bylaws. Did you vote the next one?
You did.
Yeah, we voted that, yeah.
Article to add the Blue Hills Regional Technical School capital project. And the final article is to amend Chapter 22 of the general bylaws regarding demolition delay.
Second.
Any discussion?
There are members of the Historical Commission here. Are they planning to speak to this?
Would you like to join us? That's great. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming in.
Pull up one more chin.
Good evening.
Meredith, how are you?
Hi, Steve.
Meredith, how you doing?
Steve O'Donnell, Chair of the Historical Commission, Meredith Hall, Wally Sisson, members of the Commission. We wanted an opportunity to explain to you why we're proposing what we're proposing and ask for your support. The demolition delay bylaw, commonly called demolition of historically significant buildings bylaw, was initially passed by town meeting in May of 2007, about 10 years ago. Lots happened since then, and we see a lot happening throughout the state with other towns trying to solve problems with their demolition delay bylaws. What we're looking to do here is update, amend, and try to create a situation where we don't have to keep coming back to continually update and amend. When the demolition delay bylaw was initially proposed in 2007, it asked for a trigger year or a base year 78 years before town meeting, 1929. A prominent town meeting member had an interest in a building which would have fallen under the demolition delay, and he prevailed at town meeting in rolling back to 88 years from the 78. We're now proposing a 75-year trigger, essentially the same as what was proposed 10 years ago. But having it 75 years as opposed to a specific beginning year, so that going forward, it will continue to roll, and it will avoid having to come back again. That means we're going to have a trigger year of 1942 right now, which seems very recent, but that's just before the beginning of the post-war building boom, which developed so much of Milton and created so many neighborhoods. Now, we tend to think of historically significant buildings as only large mansions or notable buildings, perhaps. But really, when you go into neighborhoods and tear down one of many, many buildings and replace it, or two or three, with very large homes on small lots, you destroy the character of the neighborhood. And one of the things, I mean, the Historical Commission is concerned with preserving historic assets of the town, and certainly we might include neighborhoods as part of assets, as well as fields and stone walls and notable buildings. So that's our first objective. The second objective is really housekeeping. The current bylaw calls for the presentation of 4 copies of a demolition plan, if indeed a demolition hearing is required. Well, there are 7 members of the commission, and the planning department needs a copy, so we really need 8 copies. The last one we did had a very complex a number of maps and photos, and Bill Clark was very kind to use his efforts and time to duplicate them all so that his office could have a copy as well as the rest of us. So that's really just a housekeeping issue. The third item is, in those really rare occasions when we have a demolition delay hearing, and we impose a demolition delay, the period of time is 9 months. 9 months isn't long enough. The whole purpose of a demolition delay, when it's called for, is to give the interested parties an opportunity to examine alternatives to demolition, be that renovation, restoration, incorporation of that building into a larger project, or possibly relocating the structure. Now, we'd much prefer to see a historic structure kept in its original location, but that's not always possible. And certainly it's preferable to relocate it than lose it. 9 months isn't long enough to discuss the alternatives, to arrange financing. 9 months to a developer is like a long weekend. Oh yeah, sure, we'll wait, no problem. And they sit and they wait. Now, fortunately, you know, it sounds like we are involved in a lot of these. We're not. The vast majority of demolition applications that come before us are either determined not historically significant, so demolition can go forward, or in kind of unusual cases, historically significant, but not preferably preserved. Not preferably preserved because of the condition or the location. You know, we had a terrific little barn that couldn't be used as a residence because of its location on the lot. The owner offered to give it away. People came and looked, and gee, would you take it and put it on your land? Nobody wanted it. It was demolished in order to construct a new home. And again, in that particular case, it was impossible to use it in its present location. So while the vast majority of things that come before us don't involve a delay period, the delay period we have isn't long enough. It needs to be longer. And the other thing that's worth mentioning is that a bylaw such as this doesn't just work if people come and have a demolition delay hearing and perhaps we impose a demolition delay. The fact that the bylaw is there discourages people from even asking for demolition because they know they're going to have to wait. And the longer they're going to have to wait creates more of a disincentive to look for demolition and more of an incentive to do something else with the property. I'm thinking of one in particular within the past year. People bought a home, talked to their lawyer, we want to tear it down. The lawyer said, well, okay, you can apply, but given what you need to do, it's going to take you about a year. Oh, okay, then we won't. Wally or Meredith?
Well, I think that after 10 years, it's time to do what several other towns have done and simply upgrade what we had, what we did 10 years ago. So that's all we're trying to do.
we're trying to be proactive.
Yeah, I think you're doing a good job of it, and I agree with you. I think that it makes a lot of sense. I think that when you look at the neighborhoods in Milton, and you look at a lot of the surrounding towns that have had people come in and you know, do those knockdowns, and it changes the entire landscape, and it changes who we are as a town. We want to preserve that. And so I speak for myself as being full in favor of what you're doing and amending this, and I think that it does need to be revisited, and I think that I think jointly, I think we all agree to support you in this.
Very good. We
Is
appreciate
this approach pretty common in other towns where it's not a set year like we currently have, but it's more of a sliding scale? Is that a trend?
Other towns are going to rolling.
Okay.
So it just continues to move.
Because
as
the
time
board's
goes on.
coming back, and okay, we want to push it up 5 years or push it up 10 years. And you know, the other thing is, what would happen with this, as we go forward, this is going to automatically cover things like mid-century modern, which we don't have a lot of in Milton, but we do have some very special modern structures from mid-century. And even Historic New England recognizes mid-century modern as something that should be preserved. There's not a lot of them, but they should be preserved because it contributes to the character of the town.
Yeah, it's eye-opening when you really get into the different styles that are in Milton and how they all play a role.
They do. They do.
And I think one of you...
A lot of history. And we hope that we can keep it for generations to come. But that doesn't mean everything. That's just a few important structures.
And we've lost some important structures, like the old St. Elizabeth's Rectory several years ago, and some others. Meredith, I think in another context, you said, or maybe it was Steve, the town of Newton, I think, was the one that has a date in the 1950s.
1957. That
57.
They were seeing entire neighborhoods coming in, and with the economy being as such, they were, developers were buying up entire neighborhoods one by one, and they were seeing an entire neighborhood completely transformed.
Right.
Wow.
So they, being reactive to that, they put a 1957 date on, which is, really trying to cover.
Which might give some of our town meeting members a little bit more comfort to look at the 1940s when they're hearing that a town like, or city like Newton is looking at 1957.
Exactly.
Yeah, it happened in a lot of those towns,
Yeah.
Needham, Newton, Wellesley, Weston, a lot of them changed. And so I think you guys have been great and proactive, and we're fully supportive of this, and we look forward to discussing it at town meeting and supporting it.
Quick yes.
Thank you.
Quick yes.
Wait, are you guys asking us that we co-sponsor it with you, or just that we support it at town meeting?
Well, when John did it, he used down the sponsor. It makes no difference to us as long as town meeting passes it.
Are we agreeable to co-sponsor it?
Co-sponsor,
I
yeah.
agree too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll move that we co-sponsor the article that will be to amend Chapter 22 of the general bylaws with the Historical Commission.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great. Thank you. Thanks for your patience tonight. You were here
Thank
for
you
a while.
very much.
Enjoy the rest of the summer.
Thank you. You as well.
Okay, item number 12 is approval to the amendment to the contract for management and operation of the Max Ullin Memorial Rink.
You're the man doing the work.
Yeah, so Michael and I and our committee have continued, with a great relationship with Curry College. We're working with the state, the DCR, on hopefully finalizing a contract in the next few months, a permit, 10-year permit, managed by the town in Curry. So we'll be giving you additional information as that goes on, but this is something that both Curry and the town of Milton agree right now is best while we continue these discussions.
Very well said. Yeah, you talk about the
was
Milton
taking
Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition and things for kids to do after
Exactly
school. That rink is
Essential.
very, very busy. With the loss of the Canton facility a couple of years ago in the heavy winter, the demand for ice time at that rink has grown, and it's a great relationship with Curry College that has formed. We just want to continue that. We weren't able to get the 10-year permit done in time, so what we've done is we've extended it one year. Same agreement Milton be the lessee and Curry be the anchor tenant. The town of Milton could not do it without Curry College, so.
Yeah, they've been great to us. They've been good to us in many other ways, too.
Yeah.
And I think we all see a lot of value in this relationship as we move forward.
I agree.
Not that anyone's hoping for winter yet, but I'm not. The rink will be opening soon.
Kids are already skating, so here we go.
So I'll move that we approve and sign an amendment to the contract for management and operation of the Max Ullin Memorial Rink between the town of Milton and Curry College through April 30th, 2018.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
None.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good luck. Keep
Thank
work,
you.
keep it up. I know it's taken a lot of time for both of you.
Yeah, we hope to prevail soon. Item number 13, approval of a one-day liquor license for the Fruit Center.
I'll do this one, Katie. I'll make a motion to approve a one-day liquor license for the Fruit Center Marketplace at 10 Bassett Street on Saturday, October 7th, 2017, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. for its Fall Craft Beer Fest.
And I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
None.
Sure
We should go.
Be a lot of fans. We should probably go there and help advertise for it, you know.
We need some humor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 14, approval, a letter to the Federal Aviation Administration and Massport. Katie, would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
As our liaison, Katie's done a fabulous job. I want to make that noted, that you continue to be a good leader for us and an advocate and support with ANAC and everything that we've been doing to fight this airplane and noise pollution problem that we're withstanding every day.
Well, thank you. It's a real team effort with a lot of people, especially from the committee, and I think the idea of the coalition is really going to be very helpful and move things forward. This letter, we briefly mentioned when Andy Schmidt and Cindy Christensen were here at the last meeting. The idea was just to document what some of the current conditions are. When we've done that in the past, we haven't done it in a little while, so that's really the idea to it, to let the FAA and Massport know what some of the experiences we're having and ask for some interim and permanent relief and to reiterate some of the relief we've asked for in the past. So that's really what it's about. I'd like to move that we approve and sign the letter to the FAA and Massport, subject to making some technical corrections in the next couple of days. So if we can approve it really in concept, there's a couple of times and numbers that we want to just confirm, and we're still in the process of confirming that.
I'll second that.
Great. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item 15, we'll just stay on noise and planes. It's a discussion and potential approval. The National Association to ensure a sound-controlled environment noise membership. So ANAC member Jennifer Goonan had suggested that the town purchase a membership to the National Association to ensure a sound-controlled environment. It's a national aviation community-based group. What this does is it gives us the ability to link up with other groups and partners and basically coordinate and get more information to be stronger for better decision making, I think. And so the cost of this is the annual dues are $1,155, and I think I speak as I'm hearing often from neighbors, from people all over town. I deal with it myself. I empathize because I have the belly of the planes going over my own house, and I'm inconvenienced quite often. And I think that we've done so much so far, and I think that we can't stop. We have to keep moving along, and I think that this gives us another kind of a weapon to continually fight this, the constant abuse that we're enduring.
So this will be our first time joining this group?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the town of Belmont is a member, which is I think the only other Massachusetts community that's in the organization. They're another very affected community,
Okay.
so it would be helpful to us.
Yeah. So we have a motion in front of us, if we so choose to accept.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, I support it.
I
I think it's a
support it as
good
well.
recommendation
I do
from the
as well.
ANAC.
I'll-
Jen did a lot of nice work on
Yeah, and we
this.
want to thank her too. It's just tremendous work that these volunteers do for us. It's another full-time job for them.
I'll propose a motion to accept the recommendation of the Airplane Noise Advisory Committee regarding the National Association to ensure a sound-controlled environment and to approve the purchase of our annual membership to noise at $1,155.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number 16, discussion approval of Stormwater Fee Advisory Committee charge. Michael, if you'd like to take over and expand upon what you've been doing. You've been
Sure.
doing a great job pulling together some information for us and some committee members, and kind of give us kind of the overview, the folks at home, an overview of what's to expect.
Yeah, so basically, obviously, everyone's aware that the stormwater bills went out this past winter. It was the first year. Former Selectman Tom Hurley championed that effort with previous DPW director with some advisement from other groups. This is basically just what we're hearing. Would like to put together a very transparent board made up of a group of residents that have again, volunteered their time to try to identify some of the inefficiencies that they noticed in the first year of the fees implementation, and to recommend any changes, if any. To form this committee, I would sit on that along with DPW Director Chase Berkeley and some residents to go over some concerns with the billing system that went out. It's not to identify a removal of the fee or anything like that. It's basically just to take a look at the second year and how to set the rates and how to come up with a four-tier system with some of the inefficiencies that the residency had identified, and understandably in the first year in its infancy.
Yeah, and for those at home to understand that, with the committee charge, examples of the committee charge would be such as like the Airplane Noise Advisory Committee, a group that we'd put together to accumulate data, to have conversations, to do a lot of homework, to advise the board to make its best decisions. Same thing with the Town Administrator Search Committee, where we appointed 8 or 9 members, all professionals in certain capacities, to bring to the table the best suitable candidates for us to make a decision. So this is a Board of Selectmen charged and appointed group. And so we have before us a motion to put this charge forward.
I'll move that we approve the charge for a Stormwater Fee Advisory Committee as written.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion?
I just want to add to what you said, David. I mean, we talked a lot of it, and we obviously heard the concerns from last year was the first year, and I think that this was a good step in your part, Michael, that we talked about communicating it, doing the best. None of us like to pay more taxes, but at least being able to communicate and make people understand what this is about and do it in a fair and open way being as forthright and giving as much information as we can learn about this. I think it's just a good thing for all.
Being transparent, like you said,
absolutely.
that's
it's a
great.
good thing. So
thank you. Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item number 17, boards and committee appointment, the Stormwater Fee Advisory Committee. We have a motion in front of us related to our last discussion.
I'll read this one. To appoint Michael Dennehy of 525 Canton Avenue, Chase Berkeley of 629 Canton Avenue, James Funling of 39 Sias Lane, and Gerard Burke of 521 Center Street to the newly formed Stormwater Fee Advisory Committee to serve for the rest of their lives. No, to serve through August of 2018.
Second.
Any discussion?
With that change. Second.
I amended it.
Any discussion?
None.
Well, thank you to the residents, Jay Funling and Jerry Burke, for offering their time. We communicated with them regularly throughout the process, and we know that they're going to bring all kinds of value to this group and help us make good decisions moving forward. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. 18.
And thank you, Mike, for all of your work putting that together.
Yeah,
That was great.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Is this right?
If you want to do it, or...
No. Is this the one?
This is the Affordable Housing
This is
Trust.
one we talked about.
Yeah.
So we want to amend this one then.
You-
I'll do whatever you want.
Whatever you want to do, that's fine with me.
Do you want me to do this? Or do you want to continue to do it?
Well, I'm not on it. Tom Hurley was the
All right, I'll
was the
do it. I
person.
get it. Okay. Let it go forward.
Okay, item 18, the Affordable Housing Trust Board and Committee appointment. And we have a motion before us.
All right, so I'll move that we appoint Richard G. Wells Jr. of 31 Granite Place as the Board of Selectmen's representative on the Affordable Housing Trust to serve through November of 2018.
And I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You're welcome.
The learning curve.
Thank you.
Item 19, Boards and Committee Appointments, Capital Improvement Planning Committee.
I'll read a motion to appoint David T. Burns of 24 Garfield Road as the Board of Selectmen's representative to the Capital Improvement Planning Committee to serve through August of 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next appointment is the Commission on Disability.
I'll move that we appoint Iris Joseph of 55 Blue Hill River Road to the Commission on Disability to serve through July 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next appointment is the Cultural Council.
I'll make a motion to appoint Allegra Murray of 36 Elliott Street, Apartment 40, to the Cultural Council to serve through May of 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the last appointment is the Norfolk County Advisory Committee.
I'll move that we appoint Joseph Reardon of 49 Grafton Avenue to the Norfolk County Advisory Committee to serve through August 2018.
Second.
And so just so people know, Joe will be coming in to give us an update in a future meeting on what's happening in Norfolk County. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're on to the Town Administrator's Report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the board, for having me. A lot of stuff going on in town. I'll just kind of hint around to touch upon some stuff from the police are having a national night out on August 24th over at their Highland Street facility. It's a great evening. Get to know your public safety officials. I believe it starts at 6 o'clock this year. I'll double check the time on that, but with that, I will mention that Chief King notified the board and myself that they'll be losing 3 police officers, and I want to wish all 3 of them good luck in their future endeavors and thank them for almost 47 years of service, almost 5 decades of service between the 3 of them. Officer Lundgren, Officer Weeks, and Officer Bulger moving on from the town of Milton. And their careers in Milton have made this town a place for people to live, a very safe place. And again, I just want to wish each of them good luck in their future endeavors. And Officer Lundgren, almost 30 years of service himself, so between cadet program and on the street work, Mr. Bulger and Mr. Weeks, 11 and almost 7 years respectively. So we will miss them and just want to thank them for their service.
Absolutely. I think that
Absolutely.
former chief here knows them very well. I was very fortunate to meet all of them. I had known Larry going back quite a few years just from being in the town and the great work that he had done, especially with the K-9 unit, but and Officer Weeks, what kind of an impact he made immediately coming out of the job. I remember we were having you into a meeting, a quarterly report, and how he made such it was a big deal up on Upper Blue Hill Ave, I believe, at the gas stations.
Absolutely.
And Officer Bulger, who a true community asset, very well liked throughout the community, and we wish them all success, especially the young guys in their next moves.
I hate to see them leave, but I learned, you're in the job long enough that people just see opportunities and they take them, and I wish them both. I was Larry's last night. They had a thing from Saturday night, and Billy actually stopped at my house the other day, and Travis, as you know, David, I've talked, John King and I recruited that kid right out of high school. He started writing me letters when he was 15 years old, how he wanted to become a police officer. So, well, I'm sad to see Travis go and Billy go. I think that they'll have a very wonderful career with the state police, and it just goes to show the quality. Milton, one of the difficulties Chief King has, and that I had, Chief before me had, is that we have excellent people, and people are always trying to take them away from us, and sometimes it's tough to hold on them. But I have confidence John's going to have some big jobs to fill this year.
I think it's very well said, though, by you, Richard, that it just goes to the quality of the people that want to serve and protect this community. We're fortunate.
But
good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Back to Public Works, there's a lot of Public Works projects ongoing. The Adams Street project, just an update on that. The bypass water line, in order to take that line out of service, they have to pass a water quality test with the bypass line, and that's ongoing. Wasn't in the office today, but as of Friday, they were looking at their second test. They don't see any problems with that, but that's kind of put the project back a little bit.
That's the above ground line they're using, the temporary line?
The temporary line, so you should see some movement on that. Obviously, August 30th is the first day of school, and there's a lot of activity down on Canton Ave and Edge Hill Road with some traffic calming measures and construction that's going on down there. DPW Director brought in T.L. Edwards, who's our resurfacing expert in the town, and we just wanted to make sure that our schedule fit with their schedule. The mast arm is in down on Edge Hill Road, and you'll see some sidewalk concrete pouring this week. So we should be ready for the opening of school on August 30th for a much, it's different. It's going to take people a while to absorb the changes to the infrastructure down there, but it's going to be a much safer year-round crossing and traffic pattern for both schools. And that was the objective. And I think John Thompson, Chris Trudell and their group has hit the mark. Obviously, we got a little bit of work to do in the next couple of weeks to get ready for that. But obviously, there's a meeting on September 13th. MassDOT and Howard Stein Hudson, the design consultant, will be over at the Council on Aging to talk about the East Milton earmark work down there. Additionally, there's a meeting at the library on Wednesday night at 6:30 in the Keys Room at the library regarding the Granite Ave Squantum Street project that should be setting forth soon. They're really starting to move the ball on that project. So some interconnecting projects that will hopefully move traffic safer and more fluidly through our business district and through the neighborhoods where, quite honestly, a lot of people are not happy with the traffic intersections, and they're cutting through our neighborhood at a high rate because they don't have success getting through the intersections. So that's the focus of a lot of these projects. You will see Verizon out there. When we first sat with them in December, there were almost 150 double poles in the town. There's a process by which the wires are moved off that pole. As of 2 weeks ago, there were about 60 poles in the town. Verizon has been out there. They made a committed effort. They've removed about half of those poles, so about 30 of the poles, and we're diligently staying on top of them, that they stay in this community as long as they can through the summer months to get rid of these double poles. And as more poles are freed up, they will then reallocate assets to getting rid of it's blight, it's unsafe in certain locations. So it's a committed effort between all the utility companies, but Verizon I want to thank them for their effort to remove some of these double poles. Very active on the job front. Paige Ippolito and the department heads have done a very good job of narrowing down candidates, most of which will be presented to the Personnel Board. I want to thank Mike Reardon, the chair, and that committee for expediting. This will be their second meeting of the month. They're doing this just so we can get some of these people out and trained and on the street as quickly as possible. So they meet, I think, on the 22nd, next Tuesday. So I appreciate their effort in meeting a second time to get some of these people through the system and out into the streets for us. The only other thing I have is I would really like to promote Smart 911 in a community with almost 9,000 households. I think we only have less than 400 people that have signed up for that. It's a very easy website. Click on it, it'll walk you through the directions. If there's any type of, I'm allergic to penicillin, highly allergic to penicillin, you put all that information in, the first responders will know how to handle a certain situation or a certain address. So it's smart911.com, and it's free. I think it's something that could help.
Michael, is it possible that at National Night Out we could use a promotional table?
Sure.
Work to try to get as many people signed up, and then try to get that. Because I think the more that sign up that night, and as Richard would tell you, that's a fun night. A lot of people come out to it, and it's a nice community gathering. And I think that more people who know about it will be in their neighborhood, and they'll talk about it. And then the old word of mouth game goes, and social media. We can also put something out, to encourage people when they do attend to sign up.
Good. The Smart 911 rep lives in Milton as well.
Oh, really?
So I'm sure Chief King will be able to
Great.
bring them on board to help.
Great.
Excellent.
Yeah, and Diane DeTullio Augustino she's trying to promote it, and I think if we get that out, that's a great idea. For National Night Out, we'll get a table and try to get that out there. So, that's about it for now.
Well, thank you for coming back on your vacation.
Oh, that's okay.
Maybe you can take one without any interruption next time. But we appreciate it and appreciate the great work that you're doing every day. Things are really humming around here, and morale is high. I hear from many department heads and employees They're very happy to work in this town, and that's a credit to you and your staff, Emily as well, and Barbara and everybody up here, and Paige and Lisa and everybody in the selectman's office who is working so hard every day. You don't have the staff, that most other towns do, the amount of staff, and so people work doubly as hard to make things that much better for all of us and as residents. So thank you.
I appreciate the kind words. It's a great team that I inherited. Really is. It's a pleasure to work for the town, and we'll keep trying to get to yes, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Thank you for all your support. I appreciate it.
I don't have much of a chairman's report now because you stole a lot of my information, which is great, but that makes it easier. But I look forward to gathering more information, as do I know my colleagues, on our Thursday night community gathering, as the rabbi said, for the vile action that was taken in Charlottesville. So I anticipate a huge gathering and goodwill to come out of this. So, and that's it for me.
I agree.
I have no report tonight.
I have none. I just want to give a shout out. She covered on Matt's thing, which was a really good day. It was very. But last week was the Pan Mass Challenge, which is the world's largest 2-day bike race, and I've been involved running in that for 10 years now. There's over 24 people from this town who rode it, and there's about another dozen who volunteers. And they do everything from stuffing bags for riders. It's a hard job to run this because they cover 192 miles. And I just want to give a big shout out. My wife was the 12th year. That's how I got involved. But I really want to give a shout out to everyone from this town. As we know, sadly, the Pan Mass raised $48 million for Dana-Farber. And cancer touches all of us, and sadly this week we saw 2 very young people from our town lose their lives to battle for cancer. And the people will continue to work for, and hopefully one day this horrific disease will be gone. And I just really very proud of everyone from this town who came out and rode it, who did it, volunteered, gave of their time, and even those who went out and stood and just cheered. It's a very I've been involved with the marathon and with that. It's just something to see, and I'm very proud to be from Milton to see all these people there. So
glad you brought that up because it's so true. I know people who have done it, and it's quite a feat, and what they get, the feeling they get when they finish that, to try to help those others in need is amazing. So thank you. Okay, seeing how we didn't have anyone at Citizen Speak, we won't have a response. Future agenda items? Anybody want to bring up anything for a future agenda item?
Just following up on the hiring and all the interviewing and everything that's going on, I think an update on that at the next meeting would be good. Just to, what have we filled, what's still open, do we have any issues with the personnel board? Because I know they had to approve a couple of job descriptions before we could get a couple of those, especially the assistant town administrator. So an update on that would be good.
Great. Okay. Well, that will culminate our meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you. Nice work. Get back on my